Hey guys, Carl here, Cultivate for Carl, and it is like 6:40 in the morning, and it's about 86 degrees already. It's pretty crazy. Things here in the old South Mississippi have been quite absurd when it comes to being outside and doing stuff in the yard. So actually, I've been laying low. So as we talked in the last video, I came down and did some final maintenance, pulled the tomatoes out, decided to keep some things. We'll look when we go around the beds. I'll kind of explain what's going on. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's been too hot to garden for me. Our heat index has been about 115 every day. Luckily for me, I've just switched from swing shift to night shift. So now I'm living that night lifestyle again. And actually, I plan on getting out some, just doing the old midnight shift gardening like I used to. Get the headlamp, come on out here and deal with some problems, pull some weeds and stuff like that while it's at least agreeable. You know, we're average on nighttime temperatures in like 85 or so. And then, you know, humidity is what's killing it, man. The humidity down here is just nuts. So things have been going good. I have actually transitioned into summer garden. I got a lot planted, and we'll see all that stuff starting to pop up right now. I've been working with my water timer a little bit, which I've got to fix. And I've still got to get this line of hose buried, but we'll deal with one thing at a time. This is obviously going to wait till it gets a little bit cooler, and then we'll move on from there. So what I want to do now, let's go do a little bed hopping and see what we got going on in the beds, because we do have some old stuff that's still around. We got some new stuff, and we have some pest issues again with one of our problem pests in the area, and we'll talk about that when we get to the first bed. So okay guys, here in the first bed we got some onions that I planted here, and this volunteer squash plant that came up. Now this squash plant was doing great. I had the watering set up for it, but as you can see right here, if you see that damage right there, that's conducive or indicative of the squash vine borer. Now, what's a mess about this late in the season, the longer the season goes on, the vine borers are supposed to lay off and quit doing their thing because they're not supposed to be out this late. But here it is. So, well, that's a problem because we have some other squash plants that we've planted. We're going to have to be a little bit more diligent with them. So, as you can see, we've got the beds cleaned and filled. What I did was I went in these 4 beds here on this side. I went and upgraded the irrigation systems, made sure all the little hoses worked, and then I filled the beds up with compost. So we went ahead and made some different arrangements. What we did was we planted some new stuff. And so in this bed, we've got okra, and that bed right there, we're gonna have sunflowers if they come up. So the okra looks like it's coming up pretty good. It's gonna be in there pretty dense. Over here, we've got squash, 1, 2, 3 of them. And then we got some corn, which it's double planted down the rows. And then over here, we got a full bed of corn. So being that we get a long grow season here, we should be able to get this corn in no problem. I've never planted corn before, and the way I planted it in here, it's gonna be dense packed, and hopefully, my understanding is that's what you need. You need the corn within so many feet of each other. If it's too close, I can come in and thin it out. But once it starts to do its thing with little tassels and all that and starts to pollinate, we'll have it close enough together to where it will be able to help each other out. Down here, I planted 2 packs of cucumbers I had that were already open. And I just went ahead and where the trellis is, where the climb nets are, I just dug a trench, I put in some 10-10-10, and then I put the cucumber seeds in there. If we need to go in and thin them out, that's what we're gonna do. But we cleaned all this up. We got most of the bean stuff off, not all the bean stuff. But those pods right there, I'll probably just pull the seeds out and save them for next year. Here along the fence, all right, here along the fence, we went ahead and cleaned up, even though there's some stuff that's grown back, like all these vines on the fence, they grow like crazy. So I could tear them down today, they'd be back here again next week. So it's a never-ending battle in the summer. But what we did on the irrigation system, we went ahead and installed a cutoff here. And so everything on this side of the line has got water, everything on this side of the line is turned off. And so what we're going to do in the fall, we're going to come back in here and put our potatoes along the fence. We'll get in here, we'll hoe these weeds out really good and clear this trench out, and then we'll get the potatoes put back in there. But let's look at what we have going down the fence. That is going to be okra. It was a seed I had, a couple seeds I had that were extra. The pepper plants are actually starting to get some growth on them finally. And then these were the gypsy peppers, and I pulled a bunch of gypsy peppers off, and I'll have those to eat soon. These are Everglades tomatoes, and you can see there's tons of flowers because Everglades tomatoes are heat tolerant. And they're from Florida, and my understanding is they taste really good, but they grow like a weed. So they said once they get established, it's hard to kill them off, and they'll just keep going. And I'm really cool with that. That's what I want. Here we got my rosemary is doing great. It's getting good water. And then we have green peppers here doing wonderful. Jalapenos here, wonderful. My shishitos need to be pinned up to the pole. Something happened to the tape I had on there, but the shishitos have been putting out pretty steady, and I'm pretty happy with that. They mix good if you put them in like with your chili. They're not really hot, but they got a good flavor to them. This is one of the Creole tomato plants. We're still getting tomatoes, but they all come out like this because of the heat. They're all damaged and bug eaten. Here we got, I believe this is going to be more okra, if I believe. Bell pepper plants are looking good. Jalapeno plants are looking good. I don't have anything in this plant, or actually I put squash in this plant. Oh look, a frog. Look right there. Oh, little frog hopping around. That's cool. I got squash here. I got eggplant. These are eggplants, and then I got squash here in the end. Now, I still haven't gotten over here to the air conditioner, which I really have to do that today. I'm going to go in there today and pull those sweet potato vines off the air conditioner, because the air conditioner is running like 24/7. But these are all sweet potatoes, and they're looking good. They're spreading out, which I guess is cool. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know when to harvest these things. I've never grown them before. I do know I'm going to go in there and trim the weeds, get them off the air conditioner, and then I just watered them a couple days ago. Plus we've had some pretty significant rains come through. Okay, here on these beds, I'm giving them a good solid watering today, and I'm going to start prepping these beds for our fall crops. And so what we're going to do, we're going back in with tomatoes in this bed again. We're going to do squash or Brussels sprouts and cauliflower and broccoli again. I allowed these cherry tomatoes to survive because they're still putting on tomatoes. We still have blossoms. They don't look too hot, but I've fertilized them and I've watered them. And you can see in there's a few cherry tomatoes, and I come out here on a pretty regular basis and clip them, and I'll eat them. I ate a bunch last night as a snack, as a matter of fact. But come toward the fall, these beds will get cleaned out. All these beds right here will get cleaned out. And I don't know what to do about my poor squash plants. But man, that's what the summer garden looks like this year. It's pretty pathetic. The reason why the plants over there against the fence are doing so well is that they spend most of their day in shade. They'll get their 6 hours of sun, and then they spend the most of the day in the shade of the trees. So that's not too bad. Gunner is hunting up a frog that's over there. I actually have a lot of frogs that live in and around my beds, and I think that's pretty good. We have a lot of bug life in the beds, and it's all beneficial. It's a good environment. So let me put you back on tripod here. Okay, so it's been hot. It's been really hot for like the month. And so how have I dealt with that? Well, we went ahead and recognized, like in my last year before, I tried to fight the heat and keep tomatoes alive. And some people will have luck doing tomatoes because their composition of their yard, maybe they got some shade cloth, maybe they got some shade trees. But once Big Red comes over the house at about 9:30 in the morning, the backyard gets hammered by sunlight pretty much all day long until it drops below the trees over there at about 6:30 at night during the summer. It's a little different during the winter. What I decided was to go ahead and terminate the crops that I had for the spring and not fight it. And then you know, pretty much I haven't been coming out in the yard as much, which is okay by me. And now I have planted crops that are conducive to the heat. Corn is not a problem, likes the heat. Okra loves the heat. I've probably got too much okra in that bed, but I'll go back and trim it down. It's not a big deal. My little squash plant kicked the bucket, but the other squash plants, I'll start spraying them with BT early on, and then we'll get ahead of the vine borers. My understanding is, now that we've gone later into the summer, the vine borers aren't supposed to be laying eggs later into the summer. So we're just probably not there yet. It's probably still a little bit toward, you know, maybe it's toward the end. I'm going to make sure that the vine borers that are in there, they die a horrible death, and that's what they'll get for killing my squash plants. What I've done to my water cycle is I've got the water on the timer, and I would show it to you right now, but it leaks. And it's running currently, leaking all over the place, and it's pretty terrible. So what I've done is I've gone to a nighttime watering schedule. So instead of watering first thing in the morning or trying to water in the afternoon, as soon as the sun goes down at about 10 o'clock, when I'm guaranteed that I'm going to probably be at work, the automatic timer will pop on and will give the two beds, the front bed on the fence and then the secondary bed, we'll give them about 15 to 20 minutes of water every other night, so every 2 nights. And that seems to be working well because everything that I've planted appears to have come up. Now this bed, it gets water about, these beds back here get water about once every 3 days, only to keep the soil moist, and there's nothing really in them that's going to benefit. What I have to do is I have to get over there in the compost, and I got to fill up that bed over there, and then once I have all that done, I'll begin you know, mulching and prepping these beds for fall. I really want to do a soil test, get that sent into the state, see where I'm at, and then figure out what I'm going to plant for the fall. But that's about it. So how's your summer going? You know, are you having any luck with anything? You know, I ran into some people had a charcuterie board, and on the charcuterie board they had these they were like tomatoes, but they weren't tomatoes, and these were orange, and they're called something berries. We're going to be researching them, and once I identify them, my understanding, somebody was telling that they used to grow them in the States, but they got outlawed because they had some kind of virus that was infecting the pine trees. And if you know what this is that I'm talking about, go ahead and drop that in the comments, because what it was this type of berry was brought over from England like in the 1800s, and people used it for jams and stuff like that. But it looked like one of the sun gold tomatoes. It was orange, and it was very citrusy, and I can't remember the name of it, but I have to do research on it to make sure I can even grow it in this zone. But if I can grow it in this zone, I guarantee you I'm going to grow it in this zone. I know that there's black ones, white ones, and red ones, and sometimes they're yellow and orange. And there's some type of berry, and we're going to try that out. So I think that's about it, man. I'm kind of tired. It's my day off. And so I'm going to do a little bit of stuff before the sun gets up too hot. And I'm going to bed because I'm a day sleeper now. But I hope that your summer's going well. I know this was kind of a hodgepodge update, but there's not a lot going on in the garden. But if you've got stuff going on in the garden, why don't you drop a comment below. You know, as soon as we get through August, about September, I'm going to start planting my tomatoes here probably in the next 2 weeks inside. And then we'll plan on getting them into the ground for the 1st of September. But everything else is going to be planted in the beds directly, probably toward the end of August. So about September, the temperatures will start coming down here. It'll still be hot, but it won't be stupid hot like it is right now. So there you go. All right, it's Carl here from Cultivate with Carl with the Squirrel Patrol, who are over there harassing the frog. I hope they don't eat it. And we're going to sign off and say have a great summer. Probably back in about 2 weeks with an update. You know, hopefully by then the plants will be doing better. So look for me again in about 2 weeks, and we're going to sign off. And like always, get a hobby. It's just that it's hot. Make sure it's an inside hobby, or you're hydrating, hydrate or die. So there we are, signing off from Cultivate with Carl.